Who has a question? Yeah.
Okay, I'm in a pre-professional program, pre-nursing, and it's taken me a while to get ready to get a strong application. And I was wondering if it will fit my financial aid status.
It can. Yes, it can. It goes back again, honey, to academic progress and the maximum number of times. Because what's happening is that if you're in a pre-program, you have a considerable amount of time that you are to complete in that pre-program. That's part of those hours that you're attempting, okay? And remember, you have so many hours to achieve to graduate. So, again, if you're running into problems, and it's going to take you a while with pre-professional, you talk to your financial aid counselor about academic progress, but talk to your advisor and talk to your instructors to see if there's anything that can help you with that. Yes, it can. Very much so. Yes?
So if I decide to change my major, what happens to my financial aid?
What will happen to your financial aid? Well, it goes back to that again. Okay? Basically, what will happen if you change your major, really and truly, there's not much of an effect on your financial aid, except when it comes to academic progress. Because remember, all those hours that you've attempted and earned in that particular major, that's going to roll over as far as total hours that we look at overall in your academic progress. So, maximum hours. Anybody else? Sir?
I was just wondering, will I be eligible for a different financial aid each year?
Well, that depends on when you file your FAFSA. That's why you have to file that FAFSA every year. Because family income changes in a year. A lot can happen in a year. So we've had situations where we've had families that qualified for Pell Grant because that particular year they filed their taxes, income was low, or they had some kind of financial mishap or whatever, that they could qualify for a need-based aid, like your grant awards. However, they had better luck the next year. So that's why you have to file every year for financial aid. And we've had cases where they qualified for a grant, but the next year they did not. So to answer your question about different financial aid, yeah, it can change. It can definitely change. You can get grant one year. You can still get student loans no matter what. But yes, it can change depending on how you file and what's on that FAFSA and what's that information. Okay? That's what determines that.
I have a question. Can you get financial aid for like summer classes?
Yes, you can. However, this is how summer aid works. When we award financial aid for the summer, the schools have two choices. They can either do it like what we call a header. In other words, they can award summer as the first year. In other words, some schools, summer, fall, and spring is what I'm saying. So in other words, like some schools, their school year starts summer. Okay, so students that are coming in the fall of 08, they'll get their aid summer, fall, and spring like that. We choose to do it the other way. Fall, spring, summer. Okay? So what we do for summer aid is that if you do ask for summer aid, we look to see what aid did you receive in the fall and spring. If you've received a Pell Grant, and let's say you were awarded all your Pell for the year, you wouldn't qualify for anything for summer school. You may have some loan eligibility left over. You can use that loan eligibility for summer school. So there's really not a whole lot of availability in summer because we have to look to see what have you already been awarded for fall or spring. If you've got some eligibility, yes, we can award you for summer school. So if you do get summer aid, we do have a summer data form. That's the only time we actually have a form like that that you can fill out, and it's available on our website. And we usually have that available around April. But to answer your question, yes, you can, but it's going to depend on what you already received that fall and spring. Because most of our students go fall and spring, and they go home in the summer. So that's how we do it. Anybody else? Ma'am?
Is there any way I can find out about campus jobs?
Yes, you can. With campus work study, there's two types of work study. There is the work study that you qualify for through your FAFSA. It's called Federal Work Study Funds. Federal Work Study. And so what happens is that if you qualify for work study, you are normally awarded through your financial aid award letter, the work study. And then if you see that and you accept that, we then give you instructions on what you need to do to find your job on campus. With our work study program, we actually have the listing of the campus jobs on the financial aid website. Again, this is the federal work study programs that we call O4. Okay? Then you have the state funds, what we call O3. Now these are for students who didn't qualify for federal work study, but they can still try to work on campus. That works a little bit different. It's operated or managed, I should say, through our controller's office. So basically for that program, what you'd have to do is you kind of like have to go out on campus and kind of go to the departments and ask, do you have any positions available for an O3 worker? And it's still the same pay. It's still the number of hours, as far as 20 hours a week, and you get paid at least once a month. So that's how you can know a little bit about campus jobs. And if you have any questions about your federal work study on campus jobs, we have a campus employer coordinator. Okay, and you can always ask questions to him, and he's located in the financial aid office. Yeah.
How do I know if I'm an O3 or an O4 worker?
Okay. With your O4, usually with O4, you've been awarded the work study, and it's on your award letter. And as I said earlier, we give you instructions on how you can go to our website, get an authorization form, and so forth. So if you qualify for work study, chances are it's going to be on your award letter for federal aid. O3, again, will be somebody who never filed a FAFSA, didn't want to file a FAFSA to begin with, or let's say that they did, but they didn't qualify for the need-based work study. So what that student can do is try to go on campus and try to determine and find out if there's any positions open like that. But again, you can still go to the financial aid office too. Yeah.
Is it true if I drop from classes before a certain date in the semester that I'm responsible for paying back my Pell Grants immediately? And is that date the same as the drop date or different?
Okay. What happens is that the first 3 days of classes, everybody's adding and dropping classes. Okay? So basically what happens is that if you add and drop during that time frame, let's say you went from 12 to 9, okay? Well, by law, we have a chart that the government has all given us in which we have to look at that chart and we see how much we can pay you based on the number of hours you are enrolled in, okay? So if a student was 12 hours, we pay them full time. But we do have something for 3/4 time, half time, less than half time. So let's say that during the first 3 days of the add and drop period, you drop to 9 hours. Well, before we actually disperse your Pell Award, we actually will adjust your award because your class will go away. Okay, it's like out there, it's like you've never registered for it. So we will adjust your grant prior to your refund check dispersed to you if you're expecting a refund check. Okay? Now, anything after that date, usually the grant is still there because usually after the add and drop period, that from that point on, if you drop any classes, you're still considered full-time or you pay the fees based on what you're enrolled in. So we don't really change that Pell Award. It's just during that first 3 days. Now, when you're talking about do I have to pay anything back on that Pell, that's only if, for example, if you resigned, you may have to pay some of it back. Even though I said, hey, that's free money, the thing is, when you come to financial aid, it's kind of like a verbal agreement that you've made with the federal government. You're saying, thank you, I'll take this money, but the agreement is you'll go to school and you'll finish. But if you resign for any reason, then you kind of broken your deal, your contract with them. So that's when we have to do what I talked about earlier on that calculation. There's a possibility that that could happen. Otherwise, though, hon, usually in those first 3 days, that's when those adjustments take place. Anybody else? Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys very, very much. I appreciate your time. And again, if you have any questions, contact the financial aid office, come by and see us, or email us. Okay? Thank you, guys.